There are moments in life when a single misstep can unravel everything you think you know about yourself. When you realize that every action, every choice you make, can shift the trajectory of your life in ways you never expected. For Michael Anderson, the CEO of a prestigious tech firm, that moment came in the most unexpected of places, a women's restroom. It was just another hectic morning at the company's headquarters in downtown New York. The office was abuzz with the usual hum of productivity, employees hustling between meetings, ideas being exchanged, deadlines looming overhead. Michael, a man in his late 40s, was accustomed to the rush. His sharp suit, impeccable hairstyle, and confident stride were a reflection of a man who had conquered the corporate world, a man who had always been in control. But today, Michael felt a growing sense of fatigue creeping in. The pressure of managing a multi-million-dollar company was taking its toll. His mind was elsewhere, distracted by the looming board meeting scheduled later in the day. He needed a break, a moment to himself. As he walked past the usual bathrooms, he saw the door to the one near his office was slightly ajar. Without thinking, he slipped inside, assuming it was the men's restroom. What happened next would haunt him for weeks to come. As soon as he crossed the threshold, he was greeted with an immediate sense of something was off. The decor was different, the stalls were quieter, and before he could even process the unusual silence, a soft gasp reached his ears. He turned around. There, in the corner of the restroom, stood Emily Winters, the company's head of hour. She was dressed in a sharp blazer and pencil skirt, her usual confidence overshadowed by the shock in her eyes. "Michael, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice shaking, a mixture of confusion and surprise. Michael froze. His stomach dropped. The room seemed to spin for a moment, and all of a sudden, it became abundantly clear, he had just walked into the women's restroom. In a state of sheer panic, his mind raced, and the walls felt like they were closing in. Emily took a step back, her face pale. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." Before he could say anything, she rushed out of the restroom, leaving Michael standing there, completely dumbfounded. He stood motionless for what seemed like an eternity, the reality of what had just happened sinking in. His pride, his image, his reputation, all shattered in a single, unexpected moment. The next few days were a blur. Michael tried to focus on work, to compartmentalize the embarrassment and move on, but every interaction with his employees felt strained. Whispers followed him through the hallways, and his colleagues would look at him with an awkward sympathy. His confidence, once unshakable, was now cracked. He couldn't stop replaying the moment in his head, imagining how everyone else must have seen him, weak, unprofessional, clumsy. The situation only escalated when Emily, the woman at the center of the incident, began avoiding him. She stopped looking him in the eye during meetings, and whenever their paths crossed, she would quickly turn away, clearly uncomfortable. Michael didn't blame her. He had made an embarrassing mistake, one that he couldn't undo. Days turned into weeks, and Michael's frustration grew. He was the CEO, he had built this company from the ground up. But here he was, feeling smaller than he ever had before. He had made a public mistake, and his pride couldn't take it. But it wasn't just about the restroom incident anymore. It was about the walls he had built around himself, his perfectionism, his need to always be in control. That need was what had isolated him from his employees, from the people who mattered. And then, one evening, as he walked through the office after hours, he found himself standing in front of the door to the women's restroom once again. It was as though the door was calling to him, taunting him. He hesitated, unsure if he should go in. But this time, he wasn't there for his own break. He was there to fix something, to make it right. Taking a deep breath, he pushed open the door and stepped inside. The soft, familiar smell of the restroom, the hum of the lights, the quiet space, it was all the same. But this time, he wasn't there to hide. He wasn't there to avoid the situation. He was there to face it head on. Emily was there, standing at the mirror, fixing her hair. When she saw Michael, she stiffened, but he took a step forward. "Emily," he said, his voice steady but vulnerable. "I owe you an apology. What happened? It was embarrassing, for both of us. But more than that, I owe you an apology for the way I've acted since. I've been too wrapped up in my own image, my own pride. And it's made me forget the most important thing, respect. Emily paused, looking at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she turned toward him. Michael, I don't think this was just about the restroom, she said quietly. It's about what you represent to us. You lead this company, but sometimes, you forget that we're all human here. We all make mistakes. Her words hit Michael like a tidal wave. All this time, he had been so focused on maintaining an image of perfection, he had neglected the human side of leadership, the side that understood flaws, that encouraged vulnerability, that didn't demand perfection. I've been so focused on being perfect, on being this strong, infallible leader, Michael confessed. But I've realized that's not what makes a great CEO. It's the ability to admit when you're wrong, to show up as your true self, even when it's messy. Emily's expression softened. I've worked with a lot of leaders, Michael. And what I respect the most is when they can admit their mistakes. We're all just people trying to figure things out. And your leadership doesn't have to be perfect, just real. Michael felt a weight lift off his shoulders. In that moment, he realized that the restroom incident, the embarrassment, the awkwardness, it had been a gift. It had shown him the cracks in his armor, and for the first time, he wasn't afraid to acknowledge them. The following weeks were transformative. Michael's interactions with his employees shifted. He stopped trying to be the perfect CEO, and instead, he embraced his imperfections. He encouraged his team to be open, to take risks, and to support one another through mistakes, just as he had learned to do. As for Emily, the relationship between her and Michael evolved too. They became colleagues who respected each other, not because they were perfect, but because they understood that everyone has their struggles. They knew that true leadership wasn't about being flawless, it was about being honest and showing up for the people who matter. Michael learned the most valuable lesson of his career. True leadership isn't about being right all the time, it's about being human. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in Michael's shoes? And how can we all embrace imperfection in our leadership and everyday lives? Remember, life's most profound lessons often come when we least expect them. So let's continue to grow, learn, and lead with kindness. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness.